Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's edition of the Maconi Setup Shop A-Fix Tutorials. This week we are looking at the Kentucky Motor Speedway, so strap in and let's get to it. One thing for this track is always when we go over shifting. I did a 30 lap run earlier and nothing changed. I thought at some point you might be able to leave it in fourth gear down the back straightaway. Even with dirty air and traffic and fall off and all that, I don't really know if there's a point where you're going to need to leave it in fourth gear. So I'm shifting into fifth on the straightaways and then downshifting into fourth on both ends of the racetrack. Okay, this second lap here is kind of like a mock qualifying lap. I find that one lane up and one and two is actually a little bit better because of the run you get down the back straightaway. Um, this run here through 3 and 4, I overdrove the entry just a little bit and I didn't quite get it on the seam and I gave up a little bit of time. My previous runs I've been able to hit like high 8s when I'm doing my second lap. That one I overdrove to a little bit, didn't quite get it on the seam, and gave up some time on entry. I do think that second lane is faster through 3 and 4. I don't think it's definitely faster through 3 and 4, like right above this patch there. If you can be about half a car length higher than that through 3 and 4, a lot of grip, a lot of speed, but I find it really burns the right rear off. The longer you go, the freer the car gets. Again, this is clean air. I don't really know how much dirty air is going to affect it. I did find that like by lap 15 in just about every run that I did, I was coming off with my steering wheel. I mean, it may have been 1130, but it felt like it was super straight. A couple things to go over real quick with the way this car is, and again, I hate to beat a dead horse here, but with no traffic, I find at least with this, the way the car is set up for this week, the moment I pick up the throttle, there's like a threshold. That initial throttle, it kind of wants to push a little bit, but once you get above that quarter throttle or around that, just under that 50% throttle, it really helps to rotate the car. Okay, so a couple times, especially through 1 and 2, it kind of caught me by surprise where I would get on the gas and it's like an initial push, and I don't know if I'm reacting with wheel or if I'm just getting to that certain threshold, but after that initial push, it instantly wants to rotate. And a couple times I've tapped the apron a little bit through 1 and 2, so I just wanted to make a note of that because I don't know if it's me or if it's just how the setup is this week. But if you do feel that little twitch, I mean, the more laps you have, the more comfortable you're going to get. But I would say to trust it. It just helps to rotate the car through the center, which is never a bad thing around here. I still think that it's going to get tight as the run goes on. That's just kind of how everything's been here in the past. But again, this setup does feel a little freer than normal. Through 1 and 2 right here, again, anything higher than like a lane is kind of no man's land. I don't know how this track is going to race when you have a whole bunch of cars and heat on it. Um, I really doubt these third and fourth lanes are going to be a factor, okay, which makes passing really difficult. Um, it's just so hard to predict what the racing is going to be like. I do know, however, just from the laps that I've done, that tire saving, as always, is going to be important. It's going to be hard, I think, to pass early run, depending on how hard you're driving compared to somebody else, or really the competition. Whoever wants to beat their stuff up more in the early run is going to make passes. But if it goes green, like I said, by lap 15, I'm holding a straight wheel, right? So the tire heat is going to play a factor. It's odd because when I did the one run earlier, I was 94 on the rights, but I was 93 91 on the lefts. Okay, so overheating the left rear, which is to me a little rare in these situations, but again, 15-20 laps in, I think you're going to see guys with handling problems, and the best way to prepare for that, I think if you can just run the bottom and take care of your stuff, yes, it's going to be a little bit slower, but as always, when I do these videos, I talk about it all the time. Running the bottom at most of these racetracks is going to naturally save tire, unless we're at a track like Kansas where it's top line dominant. Running the bottom naturally still does save a good amount of tire. Okay, and you're going to need that for this. For 3, if you're going to run the bottom, I really suggest backing it up more than you think. You don't want to be stuck in no man's land, and by no man's land, I mean if you have your left side's above or below that patch and your right side's above that patch down in 3, that little strip. Same thing with 1. If your tires are on both sides of that patch, I kind of consider that no man's land. You're not utilizing the full effect of running the bottom for saving tire, and you're still using, like, you're still going to get the speed from running a little higher on the racetrack, but it's not going to benefit you. Okay, you either want to be above it or below it. Okay. Yeah, once again, this mock pit stop on fresh tires, I did baby it a little bit. I did it on 30 lap tires and kind of used that as my reference, and I was a little short for getting in, but I'll go through. There's a Toyota sign exiting 4, and I think once you can see that straight on, I think that's a great place to begin getting on pit road. But again, everything, a lot of factors. No idea what your tires are going to be like or when you're going to be pitting, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, right here, like what I'm saying is, or what I was touching on earlier, if you're going to run a lane up, you want all 4 tires to be above that patch that's going through the corner. If you're going to run the bottom, okay, you want to have all 4 tires below it. There's a lot of grip around the bottom. It's just, for whatever reason, it's just how this track is. Like, it's naturally slower. If you want to try to run the bottom the way you run like a lane up here, you're just going to push. And there's a lot of room off of 4, but I feel like it's kind of hard to explain. The feeling I get of exiting 4, if you're over driving too hard, like, for the longest time you think you're going to be fine, you're not going to hit the wall, and then out of nowhere it's like it just gives up. Okay, and then there's no room to try to let off or save it. Like, you're just going to hit the wall. Um, as always with most of these mile and a halves, I always like to feel like I'm coming down the hill. You're not going to be able to do that here, but as long as you feel like you're getting off of 4 with a good view of the Geico restart zone, typically you're going to be fine without hitting the wall. Okay, guys. Another thing that I didn't touch on, but I will right here. As the run goes on, I don't really feel like I'm using a whole lot of brake getting into 1. If you time it right and you're not over driving it, the moment you get off the gas and downshift, I find that this car slows itself down for turn 1 very nicely. So again, like I kind of tap the brake a little bit out of habit. I like to feel like I'm setting the nose. Okay. 3, you're going to be using the brakes pretty heavily because it's a much tighter entry to the corner, where 1 is a lot more sweeping. Okay, you've got a lot of banking to use. This Toyota sign right here is kind of what I'm talking about. I feel like once, like in the race, I'll go back here real quick. For those of you that asked about the pitting, uh, anytime that you're facing that Toyota sign, like straight on, I feel like that's a good reference point to begin your entry to pit road. And again, you're trying to do is all your braking in a straight line, or at least as much as you can in a straight line. But yeah, as the run goes on and the speeds start to drop, I don't think you really need as much brake into 1. If you find that you are tight or missing the entry, then absolutely use a little bit of brake to help set the nose. But throughout the run, 3 and 4, it's because it's a lot tighter of an entry to that corner, you're going to be using the brakes, I think, throughout the entire run. Okay, and again, when you're dealing with dirty air, there's all sorts of things you can do with the brakes to try to get the car to turn. If you are tight on entry, try dialing your brake bias back, regardless of what master cylinders you guys run. I always put in the intro what I run, but that's just like a base. That's what I'm using because it's what I'm comfortable with. If you find that you're tight, put some brake to the rear, and as you're trail braking, it should help it to rotate. If you find that you're loose entry, add some brake to the front, and as you're braking, it should help put some nose weight in it to try to help with that free in. Okay, guys, I have covered everything that I had written down here. So as always, if you find that this video is helpful, please consider leaving a like. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything you want a clarification on, please leave a comment down below, and I will get to them throughout the week. And as always, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button or rang the notification bell, make sure you do that so you can see these videos every Monday when they're posted on the Maconi YouTube page. Alright guys, best of luck this week, and we'll see you on the track.